Call to order this meeting of the Plain Township Board of Trustees. If everybody else stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before us we have our agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections by fellow board members or department heads at this time? I would like to add on our concerns of Trustee Skyland, the Amazon. Any other changes? The agenda will stand as amended. First item we've got, Sheriff's Report.
Good evening. Here it is, September monthly report before you. For September, 1,059 calls for service. It's a 0.9% decrease from last year, which surprised me. But the beginning of the month was really crazy. It slowed off a little bit the second half. Crash numbers still concerning: 71 crashes, 13 injury crashes. Some significant increases in both of those categories. Alarms are down at 67, 182 traffic stops with 137 citations, 77 arrests, 479 vacation and security checks. For the detective's report, 11 cases assigned. There were three thefts, a burglary, and a felonious assault that were closed.
Nice work.
That's your comparisons to 2020, and also your look back, going back to 2015. Any questions on that?
I think the only question I mean, just on crashes, any common variables that, was it weather or?
I don't really think weather related. What we're seeing a lot of, and they're really seeing it across the state, is just a big increase in the speeding everywhere. We just kind of went through this phase during COVID where stuff shut down and there's so little traffic. Started to see speeds ticking up. Now the volume of traffic is increasing. The speeds aren't necessarily going away. We've just seen some careless activities. Once we kind of get to the end of the year, we can really kind of compare 2021, probably to 2019. We'll have a little bit better idea where we're at. Just a lot of careless driving.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, it takes us to the fiscal officer's report. Tom?
Thank you. Fiscal officer number 1 is a resolution to authorize the payment of pending warrants amount of $238,107.75.
So moved. Second. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal officer number 2 is a resolution to authorize payment of regular payroll in an amount not to exceed $250,000.
So moved.
Second.
Sorry, pen cap. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal officer number 3 is a resolution to authorize payment for the following medical claims.
So moved. Second. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal officer number 4 is the September financial report. Fiscal officer number 5 is a liquor license request from Speedway LLC, located at 7960 Cleveland Avenue Northwest, North Canton, Ohio 44720.
Hey, Brian, what I noticed on there's 2 Speedway locations that are existing stores. I think all this has to do with Corporate Marathon spun off, sold all of the Speedway stores. So as these come through, have we had any issues with?
No, we don't have any concerns with any of the speedways. It's more formality than anything with the changes in ownership, I believe.
Okay.
We don't have any concerns with them.
Okay, thanks. Let it roll.
Okay. Fiscal officer number 6 is a liquor license request from Hug Food Incorporated, DBA Rice Paper, located at 5132 Whipple Avenue Northwest, Canton, Ohio, 44718.
This is an area right next to FedEx, Kinko's, and Dunkin'. Any concerns with that?
No history there to have concerns with.
Okay. Fiscal officer 7 is a liquor license request from Speedway LLC, located at 6351 Middle Branch Avenue Northeast, North Canton, Ohio, 44721.
Same thing, let it roll.
All right. Fiscal officer number 8 is a resolution to authorize the following transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal officer number 9 is a resolution to authorize a refund as follows for overpayments for EMS as requested by Ohio Billing.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
That concludes the fiscal officer report.
Okay, it's going to take us to the administrator, Ms. Campbell.
Thank you. We just have one item tonight, and it's a resolution to authorize purchase and payment in an amount not to exceed $4,865 to Ohio Beauty Cut Stone for the installation and materials for the Plain Township gateways.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Brooke. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Okay, that takes the fire department chief.
Thank you. Item number 1 is our monthly report. The only thing I want to note is our call volume has been significantly up.
Just even in this year, month over month this year, let alone prior year.
So it's a lot of factors, but, you know, for sure, you know, that's 5 to 6 calls a day more than we have been running. So it doesn't sound like a lot initially, but when you put it all together, it's a lot of calls.
Especially in the time, because you know it's not evenly
Yeah,
each day. All right.
And item number 2 is a resolution to authorize purchase and payment to CFS Inspections for testing of ground and aerial ladders, not to exceed $3,000.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 3 is a resolution by Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize purchase and payment of one Stryker Pro 625 chair from Stryker EMS, not to exceed $4,500.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Good investment. Good investment.
Absolutely, yeah, for back injuries and et cetera, for
PWC claims, yeah.
moving patients, so trying to get them all outfitted with the same style.
Perfect. Further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
And item number 4 is a resolution to accept the resignation of part-time firefighter EMTs, or paramedics, excuse me, Frank Alessandro and Tyler Booth.
So moved.
Second. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
And item number 5 is a resolution to offer extended employment position of part-time probationary firefighter EMT to Ryan Brewster with wages established by resolution 21-155.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
And that concludes fire department. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. It's going to take us to road. Joe?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, item number 1 is the September monthly report. Do you have any questions?
That new truck was nice.
Yeah.
Oh, well, good.
The second one,
Should
probably
be
early
done.
next week when we get that one in.
Could take a picture by a lake or something instead of from a salt.
And he's proud of that, so.
That's going to be one.
It's all going pretty nice.
Yeah, we've come a long way with salt buildings.
That's for sure. All right, item number 2 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to amend resolution 21-472 passed on September 14th for for the repair and replacement of a damaged guardrail on Stratmore completed by the Stark County engineers. The additional amount to be added from the original quote is $383.69 to make the final $2,790.88.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Item number 3 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize payment to Glide Hill Road Machinery for the purchase of 3 Force American 5100 electric spread controllers at $3,073 each for a total of $9,219.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Thank you.
Zoning, Tom.
Yes, sir, thank you. The first item on the agenda is the monthly report.
Good to go.
Item number 2 is a resolution to declare item A as a nuisance abatement.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, thanks for moving on this as fast as we did. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Item number 3 is a resolution to declare items A through C as nuisance abatements.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
That's all for zoning tonight.
Thank you. It's going to take us to Parks Department. Rob?
Thanks. Item number 1 is my monthly report. Only major things to point out is obviously the restroom construction's started and gone well, and we are unbelievably busy for indoor season already with registration. I mean, we are trending towards a record year, which is hard to imagine considering how many years we've upticked, but it's,
Are we able to attribute it to, outside of what we already do? We hear moving with other heating facilities, just not.
I think if I had to judge, our outdoor seasons have increased, but I think they've increased because of the product we provided. So those people are now, as opposed to playing just an outdoor season, are playing an outdoor season and registering for indoor.
Any questions?
Thanks. That's part.
Water director, nothing on communications. It brings us to the portion of the meeting, public speaks. Nobody in the audience that wishes to address the board. Okay. Concerns of trustees, Skyland Amazon, as we've all seen in today's repository. Skyland Amazon, it's officially out there. I just wanted to talk about this because I was previously under a non-disclosure agreement coming in June on this, and I want this on the record for the sake, yes, that parcel of property is the city of Canton. However, there's quite a bit of Plain Township, especially the east side, the residential area, where I know we had a couple calls at first, not a whole lot, inquiring, what was gonna be done, and so forth. I can tell you from the conversations, the fact that we got brought in, I think is a positive sign of the efforts before, because sometimes in the past, that wouldn't have necessarily happened. I can tell you the developer was, pretty receptive and responsive to some of the questions and stuff that I brought up. Really what triggered it initially was, Amazon and their workplace culture and their facilities wanted to see about, extending a bike trail from the south side of 62 to run along the west side of the property and terminate on the north side, i.e. Columbus, essentially where the current entrance up to the old, banquet hall was. We got brought in because, where's the future, continuation of that trail? I'd let them know at the time, Plain Township Parks is not in the building of parks trails and so forth. And, I think somebody sold them a vision or potential vision that, hey, we could get you connected over to Gervasi. There's a lot of real estate between here and there. I can tell you, it was more so exploratory. The still no final confirmation that, you know, any type of trail is going to be traversing across 62 and then onto that property. Clearly, a facility of 1 million square foot is significantly huge. There's nothing even remotely close around here that compares in scale. The intention in working with ODOT is all traffic is going to be signalized at rebar at 62. That's about an equidistant spot from where 62 in Broadway versus 62 in Armont are. All truck traffic will, it's the only way to access it. Now, for the folks on Columbus and Kirby, well, that doesn't mean that there won't be some type of uptick in traffic, because folks who could potentially secure jobs there, they're going to take the path of least resistance or the quickest route. They're still ultimately going to have to get up to 62 or the one side street there to dovetail in. As you start looking at the traffic and so forth, there's also concerns of the noise, not only from that traffic, but then the noise on the grounds. There was a sound study that was done that ultimately indicated an 18-foot sound wall would need to be put up, and it actually tapers down at a certain point. Well, the city of Canton has a rule that you can't have sound walls over 10 foot. So share that, because ultimately the developer along the west side of the property is going to create an 8-foot mound, and then put the 10-foot wall atop of that in order to, you know, work within rules. So that 18-foot wall, I was told, is supposed to be similar construction to that's along the highways with the concrete / brick look.
More decorative.
Yeah, but then as it dovetails towards Columbus and starts wrapping around the backside before it turns east, back up along the driveway up to the old banquet hall, it will ultimately taper down to about 12 foot and then totally phase out. I did express some serious concern from the aspect of, hey, we know there's additional residential area and that wall's not going to extend that full way, so trying to put ourselves in a resident's shoes, you know, how's the lighting get affected? How's the noise going to affect it over there? It's very much on the record with them. Of that tract of property, they had indicated there's approximately, I think it was, what they say, close to 40 acres that there's nothing developed. So the seed was planted, still trying to create, you know, an additional buffer barrier naturally through like pine trees and some mounding. There wasn't necessarily a commitment on that, but you know, we'll continue to keep after that. Let's see here, make sure I'm not fencing. Oh, safety services. Clearly, John and Chuck, you can speak to this better than I can, but I expressed concerns over a single point of access into that property. Because you know, if there's an explosion or a fire and you can't get in the main way, how's our other way? And was told that, you know, it ran past a number of city departments and so forth for review, and that essentially where the plan was at and moving forward, it would have taken too much time and expense to look at bringing something in possibly off the backside just as an alternative. And I know they don't want to have traffic coming in that way, but still from, you know, if you need to get a ladder in there or whatever, you're not just going to take that thing off road if it's soft. So had talked through even creating some type of aggregate base to where they can plant grass over top of it, and as long as the safety services know where to go. So that's something, you know, what Chuck or, you know, whoever in the future would have to deal with something over there. We just want to make sure, you know, we know how best to tackle it, because again, looking at the status of how Canton staffs their stations and rotates, and certain ones are closed, and then taking a look at the proximity of ours in Nimishillen Township and accounting for any automatic and mutual aid potential. I have a feeling we're gonna see our share over there. So, that being said, I asked as well about tax abatements on it. Is it stated in the paper there, we're none giving. Essentially, the state and 2 other prior projects already exhausted their ability to provide anything else. Through ODOT, the whole realignment of rebar along with the sheriff's office entrance and the signalization, there's a little bit of money coming in there. Fonda Williams had told me at one point that, they were, they were looking potentially at some abatements, but wasn't sure if they would end up having to present them. And, the pleasant reminder was noted that at least regarding our safety services for the sheriff and fire EMS, legally, anything that they would TIF or tax abate, they would legally have to keep us whole on there. My concern, road, parks, any other type of levy, but it looks like right now, we'll, nothing to be concerned about. So, we agreed for moving forward, creating some common messaging for answering resident questions is something the city's committed to, along with the township through the commitment I made. So in short, that's where, the whole Amazon Skyland thing is. No, Eric and Joe, we still, on the whole Kirby piece and how the annexations, we want to make sure we get the bar set straight with them on that. So whether it's just a call or we've got to, make sure something gets sent in writing so there's a paper trail, because essentially, Joe and Eric, they're to take the whole road for sake of maintenance, not just to the center line, which is partially what they try.
Yeah, it's gonna be their traffic damage.
Yeah. Yeah. So, let's see here, just making sure nothing else. Yeah, that's it on that update, so. Any questions? If anything comes up afterwards, shoot me a message, or whatever. We'll flush it out.
Did we give a projected date for completion?
2022 being open and operating, but right when, within 2022, no, didn't state it on the project plan, but a million square foot facility, even as quick as they're moving over there already, it's gonna take every bit of time. Yeah. Yeah, so, let's see, concerns of the fiscal officer.
No concerns.
Okay. It's going to take us to the approval of the minutes for September 28th, 2021. I will so move.
I'll second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Abstain.
Okay. We do have a need for executive session. Make a motion be hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to adjourn the executive session at 6:25 p.m. from this regular meeting as authorized under Ohio Revised Code 121.22G for the purpose of consideration of 1F, compensation of a public employee or official, 3, a conference with the law director or other retained counsel concerning pending or imminent court action.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.